Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube's review and debate of Dune Part 1. So, I have with me today a couple of people who've also seen it, like myself. First of all, we have Dixie of the Spice Guild. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fine, fantastic, and we've got a little trio of us talking about this movie. And also, I have Baron Harkonnen, also known as Bossman. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing all right.
Fantastic. So just making sure I've got all my information with me. All right. So Dune came out about a week or so ago, and it had rave reviews prior to it being released. I was always a bit concerned regarding rave reviews and stuff because when it comes to um, reviewing a film, I'm the judge of character. I'm the best judge for that, is whether I like it or not. But I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Now, I do think this is a better version than the David
David
Lynch
Lynch.
The Carl McLaughlin version, that's for sure. But I do think watching that film helped with watching this movie. Because if that film in the past wasn't around, I probably would have been confused as fuck watching this movie. But this film also had a couple of things going for it. It had a fantastic director in Denis Villeneuve. He's Villeneuve, sorry. He's directed many good films. Most recently, Blade Runner 2049, Sicario, and several other movies. It also had a tremendous cast. I mean, an epic cast. I mean, just showing you the cast uh, here on the screen here. It's mind blowing. This list of actors, it really is. And the pacing was very interesting in this film. It wasn't too fast. It wasn't too slow. Not too much exposition. At the same time, you did know what was going on. But like I said, watching the David Lynch movie did help with understanding this particular movie. There were some similarities between the two films. I'm not sure if you picked up on any. Yeah, but I'm going to start with you, Dixie. What did you think of this movie, and what stood out for you?
I liked it a lot better than the David Lynch one because it was coherent and had a storyline to it. You could kind of figure out what side was what. The David Lynch one was kind of out there. It was almost like, how do I say this? I want to say it was more like a music video than a legit movie, I think. But
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much my opinion as far as the new one. It was a coherent movie basically. I did love some of the actors like Dave Bautista. He did a really good job in it. Oscar Isaac played Duke Leo Atreides really well. So,
Yeah,
but
the funny thing is though, there were like characters like Dave Bautista who played Rabin. His role was quite small in this movie.
even
Almost,
so, he still did pretty well with it.
yeah, it was interesting to see some of these big time actors having such tiny roles. Like Zendaya, who played Shani, you thought she had a more significant role in this movie, but she was mainly like used in flashbacks. Um, we didn't see too much of her. The main two characters, in my opinion, in this film was obviously Paul Atreides. I mean, he was always going to be that, but he's
Yeah.
also his mum, Lady Jessica. She played a very significant role, Rebecca Ferguson's character.
Well, Lady Jessica also played a huge role in the books too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
you kind
guess
of
so.
yeah.
Very excellent actress, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so before we talk about this film in a bit more depth, I just want to get an idea from Bossman. How did you find this movie?
Uh, a bit of a mixed bag. I love the production. I love the sound mixing. I love the direction. But there was times that I found my attention waning a little bit. And the thing is that the good stuff in this was really good. Like first third was really good when you had because Jason Momoa stole every single scene he was in.
Mm.
And I did like I did like him in everything he was in, and I love the you get to feel the sense. But the thing is that to Dixie's point, there are parts of it that I did prefer in the lit version. That the thing is with the lit version, I can quote it. This, I cannot quote a single line from it. Like I could do, Long Live the Fighters. This planet has words that even God hasn't seen. I can do what others? The Trinities need to die behind these eyes. I can do the I will kill him. I mean, the scenes in it that will run for me. This, as I said, it was a little bit. To slow the pacing down because they have to, because if you're trying to film it, because I think there was a series, I think it's like late 90s, 2000s, I think, of Dune. I don't know if you saw that. But again, I can understand when they slowed it down.
That was the one with James McAvoy, yeah?
I'm not sure it was McAvoy, but I'm not. I know there was like a series like early 2000s anyway. But yeah, this, as I said, this was a good effort. But as I said, there are parts where I prefer the Lynch version to the part there for this, and that's fine. You can like both. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Anyway.
No, fair enough. So it did have, like, the pacing in this movie was very different to the previous film. We kind of got a different beginning. I'm not sure if the Harkonnen were initially in charge of the spice supply, like it was in the David Lynch film, but we saw them at the beginning in charge of the spice.
Atreides. House Atreides was the ones that were first, and then the Spice Eagle came and fucked everything up, and then the Harkonnens came in.
Well, we found out during the course of this movie that it was a setup. Like, the Harkonnens were in charge, and for such a tyrannical culture, they happily, gave up their spice mining, and spice being the most valuable product in the universe, because they all rely on spice to travel. These commodities as well. When you eat it, it heightens your senses as well.
Yeah, so, it's like a very powerful narcotic.
Yeah, if you eat it too much, then you end up becoming dependent on it, which is why, like, the citizens, or the initial the people who live on this planet, they all tend to be blue-eyed because
the
Fremen.
Yes, they're called the Fremen.
Yeah.
Because of their spice addiction.
I just want to also point out Jason Momoa. So go on, Bossman.
I was going to say, well, in the book, and I think in the Lynch film, it isn't the spice that does it. It's the fact that the still suits, which pump the water, and so because of that process, that's what gives it the blue eyes. Anyway.
No, it's the spice eating that does that.
I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was that. All right, fair enough.
I mean, these guys are breathing in the spice and everything. They're constantly surrounded by it. And the funny thing is the very thing that is a predator to them is the one thing that creates the spice. Is the sandworms.
Yep.
So they're fundamental to the production of spice. I do want to also give props to Jason Momoa. He was absolutely fantastic in this, because Jason Momoa played a very diplomatic character, which is nothing you really think of when it comes to Jason Momoa. He usually plays fucking
badasses, like Aquaman.
Badasses, and he's a badass in this as well. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
he
a different type.
Totally. And let's put my phone over here. A different type. But there was moments like, sorry, Bossman. There was moments like when Stilgar came into the scene, played by Javier Bardem, and he spat on the table, and you think that's some sort of act of defiance, but no, he's giving up his moisture.
Yep.
And I love the way Duncan, immediately intervened and made sure that that the king or the Duke Leto Artides wasn't
Atreides.
Atreides. Sorry, I apologize.
Sorry, the pronunciation's a little weird.
Yeah, I heard the name so many times, and I'm fucking saying it wrong. I'm pissed off with myself. But I love stuff like that. That was absolutely fantastic. And we got some, like, amazing performances all around here. Like, Baron Harkonnen, played by Stellan Skarsgård, he was such a better version than what we saw in the David Lynch version. He was a joke in the David Lynch version. This guy was very menacing, very
Yeah,
calculated.
he actually seemed like a threat, a legit threat, instead of some fat dude that floated around.
Yep. And then we're also getting like Peter DeVeris, who has been in lots of things. Sorry, the character Peter DeVeris, played by David I'm going to butcher his name, Dasmalchian. This actor has been in so many movies and so many television shows, but only recently has he been getting the respect he deserves. He's a fantastic character actor, and he was very good in this as well. Oscar Isaac, what can I say? He was superb in this. Absolutely superb in this. He embodied a leader in this. Gurney Halleck, is basically his right hand man, played by Josh Brolin, was very good in this too. And even Timothée Chalamet, who I was a bit concerned about at first. This is like the first film I really seen him in. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, there was not a poor performance amongst any of these guys.
Yeah, they did great.
And they all performed. Dr. Yu, I remember him. He was played by Dean Stockwell, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could tell instantly that he was playing Dean Stockwell's character because he had that little like diamond thing in his head. Was Charlotte Rampling in the original movie?
It was what's her name? Shard something or other. I can't remember her name.
I'm not saying that Charlotte Rampling was playing Mother Gaius in the original movie, but
no, she wasn't. It was Shard something or other.
I just felt that she looking at her, I just thought to myself, maybe she was in the original movie. I would like to have seen Carl McLaughlin in this movie. In some capacity, maybe playing the Duke. Who knows? But he might have been a bit too old to play the Duke. Maybe playing Baron Harkonnen, that would have been good. But
it might have been a little more menacing if you played Baron Harkonnen, but I think the Stellan Skarsgård still did a damn good job.
The Skarsgård family are just such a fantastic group of actors.
They are.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised by that. We get so much lore building as well. We get to understand about the suits. One of the things that wasn't really mentioned, and maybe it was, but it did pass me by, was the technology. Now, I remember in the original Dune movie that they didn't use technology that required some sort of AI or self-syncing computer in any capacity, because of a war that happened many centuries or maybe millenniums ago. Sorry?
The AI war where they were actually having to fight them?
Yeah, they actually ended up fighting. Yeah. And so the whole fucking universe kind of uses like an updated version of sort of industrial tech, where there's no AI sort of source whatsoever, which is fascinating. I like the helicopters in this. They were like dragonflies.
Oh, the Orphan Hoppers?
I love that.
Yeah, those are cool.
They were very cool. That I very much appreciate that. Yeah. And also just generally, there was a sense of scale in this. Have you guys seen Mandalorian season 2, episode 1?
I haven't seen that one.
I have, yeah.
I kind of felt there was a sense of scale when I watched that episode, and I feel they kind of used similar technology when it came to this movie, because they made the big look big and the small look small. They made the landscape look wide and vast, and you don't often see that portrayed so well in some movies. They just don't give you an idea of how big everything is and how small everything is in comparison. This film really did that, and I really much appreciate that for it. So I do apologize. I'm losing my voice a little bit.
Happens.
I was talking a lot earlier, but this film itself was also just a part one. We got some of the familiar beats. So if you've seen the David Lynch movie, you will understand some of the similar scenarios and similar beats that happen in that film happens in this film. They visit some spice mining productions. That production gets taken over by a sandworm which wants to eat everything, and the Duke doesn't give a damn about the spice. He just wants to save the people. Kind of gives you an idea that he's a good guy.
Yeah.
When the Harkonnens take over, Paul and his mum, they escape, end up with the Fremen.
Fremen. They're called the Fremen.
Yeah. We also get a moment where the Duke gets almost killed. He gets captured by the Harkonnen, and the Duke has been given this poison thing. And it's also Dr. Yu who gave him that. It was also Dr. Yu who betrayed them as well. Duncan lasts a lot longer in this than he did in the original movie, but I didn't mind that. The Duke also uses that that sort of suicide capsule thing.
Oh yeah,
try
the
and
little
kill
thing that you bite down on.
Yeah, and Gurney as well. He disappears into the fighting, but we don't see him get killed. There's a lot of similar things. Like Shani, she is somebody Paul constantly envisions in his dreams, and that also played a part. There's so many similarities. We haven't seen Sting's character. He hasn't come into play yet, but that might be in part 2.
Yeah, probably.
This Dune here.
Because I thought it was going to be Dave Bautista.
No, Dave Bautista is the other guy. The guy who played Bluto in the Popeye movie. You remember?
Vaguely.
Anyway,
Vaguely, yeah.
Sting had a friend, and he was the big guy, and that's who Bautista's playing, the big guy.
Oh.
And Sting was played by somebody else. Sting was heavily promoted in the material for Dune, but he hardly had any scenes in that movie other than the fight at the end.
No, he had more than that. Trust me.
He had more than that, but he was promoted as a big part of the movie, and he wasn't that in it that much. Even in the trailers, they showed nearly every scene he was in, but there was no milking of cats, which I'm glad he got rid of that.
Well, I mean, like, I'm hoping to God there's not the scene where Steve's character comes out of a speed bath wearing nothing but a silver cod piece over his junk.
Yeah,
you obviously you've never seen that part.
But that's the whole.
Yeah, he basically does this. Sorry, I'll just do it for you. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't want to see it.
Just does. No, he doesn't. You just see a silver angel cod piece right in the middle.
And I see him and Bautista, or him and Bautista's character, are brothers in the movie, and Baron Harkonnen is their uncle. Their dad is Baron Harkonnen's brother, and it was there was some homoerotic undertones in the original movie, and they try to play on that, but they're not doing that in this one. But I was just wondering, when we saw Baron Harkonnen on a few occasions, he seemed to be swimming in this brown liquid. Was that spice?
I don't think it was spice. It was some kind of weird bath that they used to make sure their flesh didn't turn super putrid or whatever. I mean, the spice already does that to them, but still. Trying to prevent it, I think, with the poop bath, as I call it.
Fair enough. We also I like the period this is set in, 10,097 or some shit like that. So it's way, way, way in the future. And Lady Jessica's part of a bloodline of people who can manipulate people with their voice, but it's only
Yeah.
on the women's side. But if they have a male who does that, then they become the Benny Zacharach or something like
Yeah, the Benny Zachariah or something. Yeah.
Creature Tesseract.
that.
Or
Yeah,
what Bossman said.
yeah, exactly. And I saw that.
It's a weird made up language. I don't know.
That's one of those
Yeah.
made up words that the writer of Dune came up with. Frank Herbert, that's who it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, the lore and like the building of lore in that universe is astronomical, and
Yeah.
people like George Lucas, when he created Star Wars, he didn't just rip on Japanese filmmaking; he ripped on Frank Herbert as well.
Yeah.
You can see the similarities, between this movie and some of the scenes we see in Star Wars, especially Tatooine and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
That's very apparent there.
Like the Femen are pretty much like the Tusken Raiders.
Which
You
I think
know,
is kind of dumb. Reason being that I say why I think it's kind of dumb is because, the Fremen aren't the bad guys in this. The Tusken Raiders kind of were evilish, so to speak.
no, I know. I mean, it's not a like for like, but there are similarities nevertheless.
Oh, there are.
Like the Harkonnen of the Empire.
Yeah, I
our,
can
our,
see that.
Atreides, is
The
like
quote unquote good guys.
good guys, Skywalkers, and all of that sort of stuff. So you can see the similarities, but at the same time, a couple of people have mentioned this, and I totally agree. This is a bit like Game of Thrones in space.
It had to
And
be a very proto version of Game of Thrones. Well, the new one's obviously not a proto version, but yeah.
I mean, you got House Atreides, House Harkonnen, and all of that. You got an empire. And by the way, we never saw this emperor, did we?
Not in this one, I
No.
don't think.
But
he wasn't
in the
shown.
original we did. But in the G version, in the Lynch version we did, and it was played by Max
Yeah.
von Sydow.
Yeah.
So that's how.
No, Max von Sydow
Anyway,
didn't play the emperor. He played the doctor or the go-between guy on the planet. He was the one who looked at the black lady. He played that role. The black lady who got eaten up at the end, who thumped the ground and let the sandworm eat her. That was Matt von Sydow's character in the original series. It was another actor who played the Emperor, but we didn't see the Navigators as well, did we?
I don't think we did.
I thought we might have seen them initially at first. We might have got a glimpse of them, but we never saw them either. Because the only way you can travel is by getting a spiced up, junked up human being who has taken so much spice intake that he's able then to travel between the stars.
I thought
And that's
the spice is used as a fuel of sorts, not
that too.
Yeah,
That too, but it's like the folding of space and stuff. It's not really a fuel; it's like the folding of space.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, but that's how they travel between the stars and stuff. But the navigators are looked upon in high regard as well because they are so valuable when it comes to space travel. So, but nevertheless, we never got to see them in this movie too. And I kind of had a feeling that we're coming when so much ground was covered and so many familiar scenes were coming back to me. At the same time, I'm thinking to myself, we've been in this movie for about over 2 hours now, and it doesn't feel like it's coming to a conclusion anytime soon. So I kind of realized that this film was going to end abruptly, and it ended with a fight between Paul and this one of the Femen, and that's how the film ended. But what concerns me is that even though I enjoyed this movie, will there be a sequel?
Oh yeah, definitely be a sequel.
But a sequel only happens if this movie is successful. If this movie doesn't make bank, they won't make a sequel. It's kind of simple as that, really. And then you got to get all of these actors back at the same time.
Yeah. or get decent replacements for him at least.
I don't want that. One of the things I really despise is recasting. I'm not a fan of recasting. It's not so bad, if it's done early. But if this is only like a this is like a 2-part show or a 2-part movie, then a recast would be really damaging. I want look at that lineup. There's 12 massive actors there. I want them all to come back. In
Yeah, I
some
would
capacity.
too.
I think Timothée Chalamet has got a massive career ahead of him, and this could be the breakout role for him. Zendaya is more than just Spider-Man's girlfriend. I think we've come to realize that Oscar Isaac is such a versatile actor.
Very.
Rebecca Ferguson, for a long time, I thought she was British. She ain't. She's Swedish.
No, she just has a really, really good accent.
Yeah, she does a very good accent. Stellan Skarsgård is 70 years old, so let's just get him into a sequel before he gets too old to do it.
Or dead.
I don't think that, but definitely I don't want him to be too tired to do it.
Yeah.
Dave Bautista, people go on about The Rock all the time, but Dave Bautista is doing acting. He really is.
He's really doing a good job of acting too.
Yeah, he's really doing proper roles, really in-depth, meaty roles. He's not just being action man. He's having to perform. And I give him a lot of credit for that. David, that's Michelin. He died in this movie, so I don't expect to see him coming back. Charlotte Rampling, I expect her to come back. Javier Bardem, we never spoke much about him. His character's interesting.
He doesn't say a lot.
Doesn't say a lot at all. I expect Gurney, obviously, Josh Brolin's character to come back. Dr. Yu died. And Duncan, even though Duncan died, people are saying that cloning happens.
Yeah, it does in this series. It does.
Yeah.
Yep.
And people are saying that he might come back. And there's another thing George Lucas stole from Frank Herbert, the cloning things. So, this is the original Star Wars. It really is. And I thoroughly enjoy it. And I'll be so gutted that we don't get a sequel to this movie.
I hope we do.
It's a bit like Amazing Spider-Man 2. I didn't like that movie too much, but it ended on such a cliffhanger that I thought to myself, okay, I'd like to have seen a sequel to that. And that film made bank as well, by the way, which is amazing. But it didn't make enough money for Sony, even though it was worthy of a sequel. It's crazy, but that's another story. There's just so much to talk about this. I'm lost for words. I'm going to give this movie a very. I'm not even going to say this as a generous. I think it's worthy of it. 8 out of 10. I don't know about you guys, Dixie.
Me I'm gonna have to give this one like a 7 out of 10. I mean, it's a lot better than the David Lynch one. I'm going to say that right now. But some of the stuff, you got to be a real hardcore Dune fan to know what the fuck's going on in some of it. Because if you're not a fan, then there's a good chance that some of it's going to go right over your head.
Do you think watching the David Lynch movie helped?
It didn't hurt. Reason being is because David Lynch kind of made that thing a weird ass experience.
That's what he does, mate.
I know that's what he does, but still, it's just like, ugh. Because some of that's just dumb. So that's pretty much my take on it.
And what about you, Bossman?
I give it 7 as well, but I would disagree with Dixie that it's better than the Lynch version. As I said, there's some places where the Lynch version is better, but again, I'll wait until part 2 because I think part 2 will have a lot more action in it. But as I said, there were parts where I did feel my attention slipping, and I have to dock it points for that. but the first part is excellent. You know, Jason Momoa was really great in it, and I thought overall it was a very good effort.
Part 2 came along. Would you watch it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I know you would, Dixie. But what about Bossman?
Yeah, I definitely watch it.
You think they'll make a part 2, Bossman?
I hope so.
Apparently, because it's the money it's taken so far, it's going to be made. So that's always a good thing. You know,
has it done well?
yeah, apparently, like it took quite a lot of money. So I'm liking that because again, I hate it when a director makes a pretty decent film and he doesn't do well enough to justify a sequel. Like there's films that I love that never got a sequel to them. Like I mean, this is a film that I recommend if you've never seen it. Galaxy Quest never got a sequel, which you should have
I
got.
got to see Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest ended in a way that you didn't need a sequel, but I understand where you're coming from too. Yeah, but this film is ended. This film is called Dune Part 1. You know, like it needs its sequel, and I was really worried that this film wouldn't deliver financially, which is what matters. You know, critically acclaimed. I mean, honestly, I've hardly heard a negative review. I mean, even yourself, 7 out of 10 is more positive than it is negative, and I've just been hearing glowing things about this. So I was a bit concerned how I'd feel about it myself. Would I enjoy it? And I did enjoy it very much. And then I was then concerned that this film wouldn't make enough money. And you know what? This is a sinking man's blockbuster. You know, like they make blockbuster movies nowadays just so you can switch your brain off and not have to put too much thought in everything because the exposition and everything will be explained to you. You know, so you don't have to use your mind. This film really made you think. It really does. Not everything was explained. You had to understand it for yourself, and I like that. You know, it was the pacing was great. It was slow and methodical at times, and then it was action orientated at times. I really enjoyed it. This is a blockbuster for people who want to use their brains when they watch a film, and I very much appreciate that. And it had a stellar fucking cast to go with it. So I'm gonna wrap this up now, boys. Anything more to say, Dixie, Bossman?
I'm just glad that David Lynch didn't direct this one too.
Yeah, me too. Well, the director they got is absolutely ideal. So, Bossman?
Yeah, as I said, I think this is a really good effort, and I can't wait to see the sequel.
Me too. Might be a couple of years down the line at least. You know, that's what concerns me. Let's just hope they get it done sooner rather than later. And I think even if they did a part 2, that might not be the end of it. You know, so there might be 3 parts just on this bit alone. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah,
I'm sorry.
No,
I was
no.
about to say the thing is there's so much Dune material.
Mm.
Yeah, they could make a Star Wars-esque storyline out of this, really.
Honestly, something like this is where TV shows come into play. Now I know they made a mini series out of Dune in the past, but they had no budget. If they could have put the budget into this as a TV show, maybe not have got as big as actors to play those roles, because a film like this must have cost an absolute fortune to make. I mean, look at those actors, and then you got the grand scale of this movie as well. It's not cheap at all, but I would have substituted all of those actors, you know, for a television show with the same scale, because you would have probably saved so much fucking money. But nevertheless, roll on part 2. This film definitely deserves it. Okay, so thank you, Dixie. Thank you, Bossman, for
Anytime.
joining us for this debate. I am now going to take some throat lozenges before I go to
Yeah,
bed.
you sound no offense, but yeah, you sound like you've swallowed some sandpaper.
Yes. I'm the British Brian Adams right now. All right, so thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. I'll see you cunts later. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube. We are the greatest YouTube channel you never fucking heard of. And we'll see you cunts later.